Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another video where today I'm going to be going over when and where you want to pick each individual tank. Last episode I did healers, so if you missed that, check that out. Tell you every place you want to use each individual healer. And today we're going over tanks, the most important role in the game, starting with Deva. Deva is, of course, very good on a ton of maps. Remember, just because I don't mention a map doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. These are just the places I feel they are the best, and Deva has a lot of them. I feel like she's really good. Any place that you need to take off high ground, to control high ground, like places on Dorado or Blizzard World or Gibraltar, I feel like she's quite necessary. Either attack or defense. Deva's great on everything, and it doesn't really matter what main tank the rest of your team has, whether it's a Reinhardt or an Risa or a Winston. Obviously, if you're running full dive, you want a Winston, maybe a Wrecking Ball, but Deva doesn't need to have a certain main tank in order to do very well. So I feel like Deva's great on Dorado. Hanamura, I feel she's really good. Hollywood. Once again, anything with high ground that you need to be able to contest. Lijiang Tower Gardens, she's fantastic. It's the more wide open area. If you need to take care of a Pharah, Deva is going to be your best outside of a really good Widow or another Pharah. To contest her, Deva is going to be your best unless she is getting Farmer Seed. Next, we have Nepal Shrine. I feel like she's really good there as well. That's also Winston's best place in Nepal, and they've worked very well together. A lot of open area and abilities, a lot of different ways to go into the enemy territory and do some spawn trapping, and Deva is really good at getting in and getting out. Numbani, I feel, is her best map. It's my favorite place to play her. I get insane kill streaks, you know, deathless games with her on Numbani. So Numbani is great. A lot of great angles and a lot of area to throw at that mech ultimate. Numbani, you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck, and the fact that it's payload and a lot of high ground. Numbani is your best place for Deva, both attacking and defending. She's also pretty good on Route 66, but I don't think it's one of her strongest ones. She's really good on Volskaya, mostly attack. Because she's not going to be able to get as much value out of defending. You kind of want to have bunker down a little bit more on the defense. But as far as attack goes, Deva's going to be good there. Gibraltar, she's quite good, quite necessary, especially if there's a Pharah. Blizzard World, I think, is one of her best maps. She can contest the high ground, a lot of open area for her ultimate. Junkertown, quite similar in that respect. And she's also very good on all places of Busan, especially downtown, I feel. Can contest the high ground. The ultimate's going to take out anyone on the entirety of the point, and a lot of different pathways to go as well. Next, we're going to cover Orisa. Orisa, I feel, is going to be your best main tank in most situations, and even if you're running another main tank, even if you're running a Reinhardt or a Winston, I feel like Orisa is not a bad pick. I feel like she's especially necessary. Hanamura defense, especially on the first point through that choke, she's going to give you the most protection, whether you're bunkering up with a Roadhog or a Torbjorn or a Mei or a Bastion. Orisa is going to be your go-to. Horizon, I feel Orisa is the best tank for Horizon on defense especially, but also Orisa very underrated on the attack there. Yes, even the first point, especially now that you can attack from above, but also on the second point where once again you can kind of control the high ground with Orisa without having to worry about lack of mobility. Really good on Volskaya, especially for defense, but sometimes for offense. You might want to run her as well. Junkertown, obviously she's going to be good on any payload maps, especially if you want to run a Bastion on it. She's going to be your best go-to, but I feel like she's really good on Junkertown on attack as well, on the payload, as well as defense on high grounds. You know, mostly through point A and point B, not so much through point C as far as high ground goes, but she's just as good and just as important. Eichenwald, very good. Numbani defense A. I feel that Orisa's really good there. I'll pick her a lot. Ilios well, she is bar none the best tank, being able to pull people into that well. protecting herself from getting hooked or pulled herself, and she can control a lot of space. And she's also decent in ruins, depending on what kind of comp you're running. But if you're bunkering down and have a lot of healing and a lot of tanks, she's going to be good there. And Nepal Sanctum, obviously the go-to in the Overwatch League back when pull could pull people through the grounds. Not so much anymore, but she can still pull people off and will afford you more defense than any other tank and point presence, as well as the crowd control and what she can do with her weapon. Next we have Reinhardt. You know, the tried and true Reinhardt. He is more a slave to his team comp, what other tanks that he has, whether you're running goats or just another off tank or another main tank, and what healers you're running as well. I feel like Reinhardt's best map is Dorado. Yes, there is some high ground there, but either attacking or defending, I like to have a Reinhardt on there, especially on attack. Oasis Gardens, I feel like Reinhardt is an absolute beast on Oasis Gardens. If you can run a bunker setup with, you know, a Risa Roadhog, but it's easier. I feel a little bit easier and a lot more snowbally is to run a Reinhardt. You don't even necessarily need a Zarya, but in most places where you want to have a Reinhardt, you want to have a Zarya as well. But Reinhardt can kind of rule Oasis Gardens and even University a little bit, you know, obviously depending more so on what the enemy team is running than what you're running in that case because of how close quarters it is. Volskaya attack, feel like Reinhardt is pretty good there. King's Row, obviously tried and true, Reinhardt will always be good on King's Row, attacking or defending no matter who he's with and or who he's against. Lijiang Tower Night Market and Control Center, I feel like are some of his better control maps, where he can just swing away and doesn't have to worry about shielding. If he can get pocketed and Zarya bubbled, he's a beast on Lijiang Tower, Night Market, and Control Center. Also very good on Ilios Lighthouse. You know, there's a lot of potential in the close quarter areas to get a lot of guaranteed pins and some big damage on people grouping up. And he's also pretty good on Nepal Village and really good at the snowballing there as well. He's not going to get as much out of his kit there, but he's not bad in that instance. And then of course we have Roadhog, the only tank that can't help his team, at least right now, but still is in the tank category, so we might as well cover him. I feel like Roadhog is really good on Volskaya defense, especially on the second part, but the first part, you want to take care of those Sombras that are going in there where she can get a big value out of her hack or any sort of flanker or someone trying to a sniper up top. He's good at taking them out. But in the second point, I feel like he's a real good road blocker and a movable force right there. Junkertown, he's going to find some good use, especially if you're running a Bastion or trying to get into a Bastion. Hook is going to be your best friend there. Eichenwald, I feel like Roadhog's pretty decent as well. Kind of through all the points, you know, a little bit of a varying success there. Less so in the streets phase, even though you can hook some people to their doom. That's not one of the more common environmental places to get kills, but he's still pretty decent. Ilios Well and Lighthouse, obviously he can hook a lot of people into that well for guaranteed kills. Hooking people off of Lighthouse, it's a real easy way to stop a fight before it even happens, and he has a lot of cover on those maps as well. Lijiang Tower Garden especially is one of my favorite places, maybe my favorite place to run Roadhog, because you're just hooking people off of that bridge or off of their spawn time and time again into that digital koi pond, and people really can't do much about it. You can get a ton of value out of Whole Hog there, especially on the point with all of those walls. And he's also kind of okay on Nepal Sanctum because you can hook people down to their doom, obviously. Next up we have Winston, one of the more difficult tanks to play, but my absolute favorite place to play Winston is Anubis, believe it or not. That might be a little controversial, but especially on defense. My Winston win percentage on Anubis defense is insanely high. Just being able to hide on the high ground above the archways, and if they go main, easy drop down and bubble, or if they go on the left, more likely you're able to leap over that wall and get the squishy kills. You don't even have to leap. You can just walk around them, take care of the Ana, take care of the Zen, harass the Moira, and obviously is a really good answer to Brigitte since her shield can't do anything against your primary fire. Obviously, Winston's going to be good anytime where Genji's going to be a problem, even though Moira is going to be the better answer to that. Or if the enemy team is just running a bunch of squishies, Winston is one of the best at shutting down triple DPS or quad DPS as long as you have some coordination, which is not super duper common. So these are the places I recommend the most. Winston on Anubis, especially defense, but also very good on offense. Dorado, Winston's going to get a ton of value. He can create the most space on 2 maps. I'd say Dorado and Gibraltar, especially Gibraltar, but also Dorado. If you have a good Winston, he can absolutely carry on those maps. Blizzard World, he has a lot of space, some high ground that he can contest, and you know, some decent cover to get around in certain spaces, but he will rely more so on your other tank and your healers in those instances because of how wide open it is on all sides. Numbani, he's obviously going to be very good on Numbani. Can also create a ton of space there. Any you know, hybrid or pure payload map. Nepal, also very good on a couple of those places. And Oasis. Winston can control a ton of space, especially if you're running D.Va. That's one of the more common places where you can just control the high ground with D.Va, and Winston initiating those dives. It's one of the more easier places to do it on Oasis, especially City Center. Next up, we have Wrecking Ball, who is mostly put in the DPS slot like Roadhog, but can also, depending on what you're trying to run, can roll as your off tank or maybe even your main tank, depending on how good your Wrecking Ball is and how bad the enemy team is at knocking him out. Anubis, I feel like Wrecking Ball can pretty good. He can initiate very easily and quite safely. Volskaya, he's kind of a sleeper pick. It's just he's really hard to pin down in Volskaya. So while you might be an ult battery for the enemy team, you're also going to be an ult battery for your healers, and it's just really, really difficult to take out a Wrecking Ball in Volskaya because of all the high places that he can hook to and away from. Route 66, also a lot of high walls for him to hook and get a lot of surprise dives on. Numbani is my favorite place for Wrecking Ball right now. Once again, a lot of buildings, a lot of tall walls, and he can contest the high ground, and his ultimate can do a ton of work on those narrow pathways through streets phase, as well as at the very end. Ilios can kind of work depending on what you're running. Lijiang Tower, he's also fairly decent, but that will require much better, more mechanical play from your Wrecking Ball. So Lijiang Tower might even be the best place for Wrecking Ball, but right now he's just pretty good, but quite inconsistent, whether on what your team is running or how mechanically skilled you are at Wrecking Ball or how the enemy team is shutting you down. And lastly, we have Zarya, who I feel is really only going to be used on attack and with a Reinhardt. You can run her with an Risa, that can work, but Reinhardt's going to give you the most amount of charge when you're bubbling him, and of course, grouping up with that ultimate, it'll just charge up another Earth Shatter, and you know, gives something for the dragons to eat up if you have obviously a Hanzo on your team. So Zarya Anubis attack I feel is very good, especially if you can snowball off the first point. An early grab on the second point can get you the win, whether you're bad at defending or not. King's Row attack obviously is going to be her best. That's where Rein shines the most, and wherever Rein's good, Zarya's going to be good. But once again, only on attack. She's super duper overrated on defense. She's not good on defense, and I would not use her in 90% of all places on defense. But the Nepal Shrine, she's actually quite serviceable if you can get control of it first. Lijiang Tower, she's going to be very good in those indoor areas, rocking with Rein, as well as Volskaya attack. She can be quite good as well. Very, very easy to charge your particle cannon in there because of so much Junkrat spam on those maps and Torbjorns and people just kind of throwing out spam on those maps. Zarya's real easy charge going there on Volskaya attack. So those are the places where I feel like all the tanks in the game are best utilized and easiest to utilize without having to worry as much about your team comp or how good you might be at the character. If you want to try out any of these are the places I would recommend. And next time we're going to be handling the first part of the DPS slot.